All right, we are ready to start with chapter 4 in the Robbins book. Now you actually get to do some HTML. Yay! So in order to write your HTML, you're going to need a text editor. And you can download and install one of these yourself. Do not use the text editor that comes with Mac or the text editor that comes with Windows. You need to download one of the ones that I'm recommending, all right? So if you go to our course website, you go to the course schedule page, I've got the links to these right near the top of the course schedule here in week 1 where it says text editors, all right? So I'm just going to show you their pages very quickly. This is the one for Mac. It's called Text Wrangler. I use this one a lot. It works great. It's free. The same with Notepad++. Last summer I had to use this one for about 2 months because I was working somewhere where they only had Windows, and it's great. It's also free. Works great, Windows only. Then there's a new one called Atom that I'm starting to use. I like it a lot. It is best for Mac. You can get it for Windows, but notice you can only get it for Windows 7 and 8. Nobody has adapted this program yet for a later version of Windows. So if you have a more recent version, you can't use that one. All right, the hard way. As I said, I want you to write your HTML using a text editor. And I wanted to point out that in the Robbins book, she has this little sidebar called HTML the Hard Way, in which she advocates exactly what I advocate, and that is type it. Type it yourself. All the code, all the tags. Do as little copying and pasting as possible, especially at the beginning, because you learn it by typing. Your brain learns it through your fingers. So don't try to take a shortcut. Don't try to take the easy way out. Really, the hard way is better because you're going to be typing this stuff all semester long. And the more you learn by heart, the more you memorize, the easier it's going to be for you in the long run. Files need to be very, very organized for this class. So the first rule is do not ever save anything on your desktop. Tuck it into a folder. And the folder you're going to start with, of course, is your documents. And I've got mine open here. And right away, before you do the exercises that are in chapter 4, and of course, you're going to do the exercises because that's how you learn, right? You're going to make a folder for your whole class. All your work is going to be in here for this course. So make a new folder, and let's call it web apps, or you might want to call it the course number, whatever makes sense for you. Okay, and then inside that folder, if I were going to do these exercises, right? Exercises in chapter 4, I'm going to make a new folder that's only for those exercises. And I think I will name it something really, really sensible, chapter 4 exercises. And then I'm never going to put anything from any other weeks or any other chapters in that folder, right? That would be a really good way to organize. Later this week, you're going to start assignment 1, and then you should probably start a new folder for assignment 1 and so forth. Keep your files really, really organized. It'll help you do better in the course. So Robbins talks about what are good file names for web files. And there are a few rules. The rules tend to be a little different from maybe the way you've organized your hard drive in the past, the way you've named files. First off, no capital letters. You'll see files on the web that do have capital letters in their file names, but it will be easier for you to keep things straight and not make mistakes if you only use lowercase letters. Also, a very important rule, no spaces. Do not put any spaces in your file names. And although I used spaces in my folder names just a second ago, those folders are not going to go on a website. Those are just for my hard drive. When you're making folders that will be uploaded to the web, to a server, those folders also, no capital letters, no spaces. What about punctuation marks? Robbins goes over this in more detail, but the short version is the only punctuation mark that is allowed, that is legitimate, is the underscore. So, whoops. Let me go over to my text editor. I'm using Text Wrangler here. Open up a new file. So, index.html, perfectly good. My homework.html, perfectly good. My homework.html, no, 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 that is totally bad. Okay, so never use capital letters, never use spaces, right? What about numbers? It's okay to use numbers in file names, also with no spaces, no punctuation, but the number should not be the first character in the file name. So you can name things something like homework3.html, that's okay. What about some other file extensions you might see for files on the web? You might see some ASPX. You might see a file extension like that. You might see a file extension like that. You might also see files named that. This is very old-fashioned. Nobody does that anymore. Or default ASP, something like that, right? These are all files that work on certain kinds of servers, but we're not going to be using that kind of file. So stick with .html for the extension of your file name. When you are making a new HTML document, how are you going to get started? What are you going to do first? What are you going to do second? So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have your text content. You're going to have all your text on your page to start with. Next, you are going to add the structure tags. The document structure tags are going to be the same in every file you ever make. We're going to start with the bare bones of structure. Later, we're going to learn about some additional tags we need to use, but for the first couple weeks, we're going to start with these basic tags, this basic structure. So just memorize this. Memorize these 7 tags. Memorize them by typing them, by using them, but get the order correct, get the slashes correct, get the lowercase correct. Just memorize this, right? This is the first thing you do after your content. You add these structure tags. After your structure, you will add your content tags. So you've got your structure at the top and the bottom of the text. Then you go into the text itself and you add the content structure. That is, what are the headings? What are the paragraphs? What are the lists? What are the parts of my document? After your content is marked up with HTML, then you'll add your images. Figure out where the images should go, put in the image tags. Finally, you will add styles. Now, in Chapter 4, Robbins shows you a little bit about CSS styles. We're not actually going to cover styles until 2 weeks from now. Then we will get all the way into CSS and you'll learn a lot about it. Okay, so this is the file provided by Robbins for Chapter 4. And it's a short little page. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all finished in the browser. In the browser, it's going to look like this. So it has one image, it has 4 headings, and it has a couple of other tags that we'll go over briefly, but Robbins goes over these in details. So in your text editor, it's going to look something like this. And one of the reasons we use a real text editor and not the one that came with your operating system is because of this nice color coding. It helps us keep track of things. It helps us see if our tags have been opened and closed correctly, because if something was wrong with our tag, I'm going to delete half of the tag here. What happens? When the tag is not complete, the tag is no longer in color. When the tag is complete, the text editor sees it and renders it in color. Also, attributes, certain tags have attributes, and you will see those rendered in color as well. I'm going to flip over to the Atom text editor. I have that open, and you can see that the colors might be different in a different text editor, but the basic idea is the same. You're going to have color coding that is different for the text itself, for the tags, and for the attributes. I'm going to end this here, although I had some more messing around with the HTML recorded. I will put that in a separate video as a bonus for the hardcore students, but this is probably sufficient as an enhancement for Chapter 4 in Robbins.